Alright, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Artron and I am a part-time online reseller. And today we're going to go over the Mitsubishi Mighty Max and its clones that you can take parts out of and sell them online. Just a little history about the Mitsubishi Mighty Max. It was a Japanese import that was brought in from 79 to 86. It was rebranded by Dodge to compete with the smaller pickups from Toyota and Nissan. It came in 4 different variants. You had the Mitsubishi Mighty Max, the Dodge Ram 50, the Dodge D50, and the Plymouth Arrow pickup. So all 4 of these trucks, they were basically the same. They all came with the same engine, the same option. They were just rebranded different names. Right, so the first one that we're going to look at is the first generation. This here is the Plymouth Arrow pickup. Now the Mitsubishi Mighty Max looks exactly like this, except it has the Mitsubishi emblem in the center of the dash. The Dodge D50 looks exactly like this, except it has quad headlights, so it just has 4 headlights instead of 2. And then you'll usually have the Dodge Ram symbol somewhere in the grill. And these were made from 79 to 86. You can see they just have a more rounder body. Things that were more common in the 70s. Then we go to the second generation, which ran from 87 to 96. And as you can see, it has the square body, and the Mitsubishi Mighty Max, the Dodge D50, the Dodge Ram 50, and then they had another variant called the Dodge Power Ram 50, which was just 4-wheel drive, but they all look the same. They look exactly like this. Just one will have a Mitsubishi emblem, and the other have a either blank, or it will have a Dodge emblem somewhere here in the dash, but they look exactly like this. And so now that you know what the truck looks like, you know a little bit about it, we're going to go over 5 things that are easy to take off this truck that you can sell, and then 5 things that are harder to take off this truck, and it's going to require a little bit more work, but they do sell for a lot of money. All right. So the first thing we're going to look at is the dash clock. This clock is found in the center of the dash, and it's just a digital clock. Nothing special, no weather, no what direction you're traveling in. It's just a clock, and it can sell from between $50 to $75, and you can expect to pay $5 to $7 for it at your local pull apart. You may pay $20, $40 if you get it from a traditional junkyard. This is easy to take off. There's basically 2 clips. We can look at the picture closer here. There are 2 clips on the side here. The clips here are missing, but you just depress those clips, pull it out, and detach the electrical connection. Real easy. You really don't need any tools to take this out. And they sell relatively fast. They'll sell faster in the Facebook group than on eBay, unless you let them know that you got one on eBay. Alright, the next item is the third brake light, and this is found on the back of the cab. These are, again, harder to find. You probably can expect to pay maybe $10 to $20 for it at your local pull apart. A little bit more at your traditional junkyards, and you can expect to get between I say $100 to $150 for it. Again, these are easy to take off. You just need a Phillips head screwdriver to remove it from the cab, and probably stick a flathead under it to pry it off. Cut the wires, and that is it. Right, the next item is let's find it. All right, the tack cluster. The tack with a cluster, excuse me. Alright, so When these trucks came from the factory, the majority of them did not have a tach. They just had a speedometer. Um, but the ones that did have the tach were a little bit more, or a little rare. So if you can find a tach, you can expect to get $200 for it. I know it says 60 down here, but that was years ago. Now the asking price for these are normally $200. They're easy to take off again. They're just one, two, three, four Phillips head screwdriver holding it in. But you have to be careful when you're pulling it out because the speedometer is attached to the transmission via a long wire. So you have to reach there behind the dash, behind the cluster, depress two tabs and pop that cable out. If you don't, you're going to break that connection, and it's really going to make the cluster useless, and you're not going to be able to sell it unless you can. You may sell it for cheaper, and whoever buys it, they can fix it. But just be careful when taking it out. All right. So the next item is, I'm looking at my list, are the center consoles. Excuse me, before we go that, this is what the second generation cluster with the tach looks like. And this is what the first generation tach and cluster looks like. You can see the tach is over here on the right hand side. Then the next item that sells for a lot of money are the center consoles. They're kind of hard to find pictures of these because they're so rare, and not a lot of people actually took pictures of these. But this here is the first generation center console, and these will have the oil pressure meter and a voltmeter built into it. So a lot of guys like that in their pickups. The second generation center console, again, kind of hard to find a picture of, but here is a picture. Here's basically a diagram of one from a manual, and it comes apart. It comes in two parts, so it's really easy to ship. There's, when you flip the center console compartment open, there are two cup holders. There's another slot here where the voltmeter and the oil pressure meter go, and you can expect to get $200 for the second generation, and you may be able to get between $50 and $100 for the first generation pickup center console. All right, and then the last item that you can sell are the let's see here, the seat rails. When guys buy these trucks, they come with bench seats, and if they want to add, they have a bench seat, but if they want to add dual seats, you need another set of rails to install them in the pickup. The holes are already there. These are easy to take off. I think it's just a 12mm nut that you can unscrew from the front and the back and pop the seat out. Then there's 4 other 12mm nuts to detach the seat from them, and they sell, you probably get $50 for them. You probably pay $10 at your local pull apart. And if someone's parting these out on Facebook Marketplace, that'd be a great place to try and source parts for these. All right, so those are the 5 easy things that you can take off of these trucks and resell. Next, we're going to go over some of the more difficult things to take off, but you can sell them for good money. Give me a second. All right, so this here's the Facebook group. Let's close this. This is the Facebook group. This is where I sell a lot of my parts. Don't come in here trying to price gouge. These guys will let you know, hey, you're paying too much, or you're asking too much for your pickup. There's a guy in here now trying to sell his pickup for 10 grand, and they're giving it to him. All right, so some of the parts that you want to look for are the carburetors. The stock carburetor that came with these trucks, they're not very good. They don't last a long time. You'll normally see one for sale, and and it's gonna say has problem with the carb, or the carb needs to be rebuilt. The ones that you're gonna want to look for are the Holley carburetor. If you may find them in these trucks in the yard, the Holley is easy to identify because it says Holley on it. I think it's a double barrel carburetor, and they're relatively easy to take off. You normally 4 screws, you disconnect the vacuum, any hoses or cables that's with them, and it pops right on out. And you can expect to get 200 for the Holley, and then you have the Weber, which is another great one. I knew these run $500 easily because it comes with everything used. You can expect to get $200 to $250 for them. You have to find a way to test them yourself. If you don't have one of the pickups, it's going to be kind of hard. You're going to have to sell it as untested, but you can still get a lot of money for them. All right. The next is the AC system. Now, you're not going to find this on eBay. It's better to sell it in the Facebook group. You can expect to get $200 for a full AC system. That's the AC compressor, the lines, the condenser, the evaporator, and any of the controls that go along with it. And they're easy to take out if you know what you're doing. Just make sure you discharge the AC before you disconnect anything. I learned the hard way. What they're supposed to do at your pull apart is actually discharge the Freon from the AC system before they put it out on the yard. They say that. I'm thinking that I go to the yard, I see an AC system, and I start disconnecting everything. And I disconnected the high pressure hose, and Freon sprayed everywhere. Got on my eyes, got in my mouth. It was just a bad experience. So before you even try and take it out, just take a screwdriver and depress the valve on the AC line to see if there's anything in it before you try and take it apart, because you don't want Freon spraying in your face. So the next thing we're going to go over is the power steering system. Again, better to sell in the Facebook group. You're going to have your power steering pump, your hoses, and the actual power steering arm. Everything is swappable from a non-power steering truck, and it's really easy to swap them over. And the hardest thing to probably take off is the actual steering column. I mean the steering knuckle itself, because it is attached to the frame. Alright, so that's the power steering. The next thing will be, it's actually not found in this truck, but it is found in another vehicle, and it attaches to the Mitsubishi Mighty Max trucks. And that is the turbo manifold from the 4G62. I'm going to get kind of technical here. The 4G62, which is basically a 2-liter engine that was found in the Mitsubishi Cordero during the 80s here in the United States. I think it was sold for maybe a year or two. But the whole engine really, but the turbo manifold is what these guys are looking for, because it allows them to bolt a turbo to their stock 2.0 engine. And these are really hard to find. You can expect to get $200 to $300 for this manifold if you can find it. If you're in California, you're probably more likely to find it, because that's where majority of the cars from Japan were first dropped off at, in California. But you can search carparts.com, you can search LKQ, you can use row 52 just to search and see if they have one in these yards. They do pop up. Most people don't know what they are. They came in the Dodge Colt or the Mitsubishi Mirage from 84 to 86. I believe, I'm not sure about the dates, but just look for those model cars around mid 80s and see if they have this engine. I actually swapped one of these. Well, I swapped another variant of this engine into one of my trucks. Didn't last long, blew it, but hey, it was fun while it lasted. Then the next item is the back window from the extended cab trucks. I got to type it in real quick. In a second. Alright, so basically this back window here. The extended cabs are even rarer than the regular cabs. And if somebody breaks these out, it's gonna be hard pressed to try and find one of these windows. You can expect to get between, I say, 1 to 150 for these. For someone who's looking for it. Not a lot of guys that I know have the extended cab. A lot of them prefer the shorter ones just because of the styling. Alright, so that is the end of the list. I mean, there are other things that you can get off these trucks and sell. Like if you can find a diesel engine complete and running, you can sell those for good money. As you can see here, this one has the bar in the back. If you can find that, those sells for good money. Probably best to sell locally. The fender flares also sell. Again, this is for the more mechanically inclined reseller. Me myself, I go to a lot of puller parts because I do pull things from other vehicles, and I'll make a few more videos of some cars that you can find in your local puller part or your junkyard that you can sell for money. Alright, but that's the end of the video. Until next time, hey, keep on thrifting.